Yeah, good morning and good evening, Anna. Uh, Go ahead and get started. I thought we could start maybe with praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. And then since we're talking about emptiness today, we could recite the Heart Sutra. When we're going through the Heart Sutra, after we will get to the Heart Sutra mantra and we'll chant that a few times. And then after the mantra, we'll stop and meditate there before finishing the sutra. It's a nice place to meditate. So, Guru, teacher, Bhagawan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be subdued, teacher of gods and humans. To you, Buddha Bhagawan, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Guru, teacher, Bhagawan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be subdued, teacher of gods and humans. To you, Buddha Bhagawan, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Guru, teacher, Bhagawan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be subdued, teacher of gods and humans. To you, Buddha Bhagawan, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. We'll do this in the chantable style that we do at Maitripa College. I prostrate to the three noble, rare, sublime ones. Thus did I hear at one time the Bhagawan was dwelling on Massa Vulture's mountain. Griya together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time the Bhagawan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of called profound perception. Also at that time the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shari said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara: how should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that in the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Sharadvati Putra Share Putra, the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this correctly and repeatedly beholding. It's also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness without characteristic, unproduced, unceasing, stainless. Stay not deficient, not fulfilled, Share Putra. Therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomena. Therefore, elements and so on up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance and so on up to and including death and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment. So no non-attainment, therefore, Share Putra. Therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear, having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly completely awaken to unsurpassable perfect and reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as true, since it is not false. The mantra perfection of wisdom is declared. Tayata gate gate para samgate bodhi so. Tayata gate gate para samgate bodhi so. Tayata gate para samgate bodhi so. Tayata gate para samgate bodhi so. Tayata gate para samgate bodhi so. We'll rest in quiet meditation. You can either contemplate quietly emptiness as you understand it, or just rest and relax on the breath, sensation of the breath. Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. The Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokita, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. Should practice the profound perfection of wisdom.
Can you turn up the volume?
Even the the Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Sharadvati Putra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokita, and those surrounding in their entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised as spoken by the Bhagavan. And then we can reaffirm and reconnect with our aspiration for enlightenment, a sense of compassion and love for all beings, and aspiring to awaken our full potential to be of great benefit to ourselves and of all sentient beings. And we'll recite this 3 times in Tibetan and then once in English. Sangye chodang soki chodang la Chanju Badu Dagni Kapsu Chi Dagi Chunyen Gi Pe Sunam Gi Drola Penjir Sangye Drupa Sho Sangye Chodang Soki Chognam La Chanju Badu Dagni Kapsu Chi Dagi Chunyen Gi Pe Sunam Gi Drola Penjir Sangye Drupa Sho Sangye Chodang Soki Chodang La Chanchu Badu Dagni Kapsu Chi Dagi Chunyen Gi Pe Sunam Ki Drola Penjir Sangye Drupa Sho. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By merits of listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit trained migratory beings. Venerable, is there a way to have the Zoom screen just so people can see the people on Zoom too? Or
it's just that it's a complaint about it's the teacher, it's the teacher, it's the teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So if there's a text, then it's different, but it's
it just shows the highlighted screen. Yeah. Got it. Cool. All right. Good. Okay. Yeah. So today we are going to discuss and meditate on emptiness and dependent arising. And generally, practice advice is usually, because we're so kind of entangled with relative reality so much, that it's good to kind of start with the emptiness side, almost kind of like overcorrect, lean into emptiness a bit, and maybe we go too far, and we eventually start to find that balance between the relative conventional life and the absolute kind of nature or quality. So today we could maybe go that route, start with emptiness in theory, and then this afternoon we get into dependent arising. So it's kind of two sides of the same coin. Emptiness is kind of looking at the absolute nature of existence, and dependent arising is the kind of relative nature. And and we'll see how those two are kind of, why they're two sides of the same coin, why they're complementary to each other, not contradictory. But maybe starting with a question. It's why study this? Why is emptiness helpful, important? Why do we need to understand the ultimate and relative nature of ourselves and reality? Yeah, Anna?
Is it maybe to begin to understand that we're not separate?
Yeah. Anybody else? Any other? There's many perspectives and kind of angles, so it'd be interesting just to hear how people think about that. Yeah, Kodo?
For me, I've been working with the emptiness that this is just a moment, a long moment, 61 years moment, maybe a few more if I'm lucky. But the mind, wherever that is, whatever it is, the vibration of mind is going to do its thing. So I have this precious human life to train the mind as much as possible so I have a decent rebirth, and that I'm kind, and that I look and really acknowledge my terrible mistakes in this life and whatever I've done before that are here now, because I know my habits now are because of my past habits and the people I've hurt now, and the things that when I'm driving and I'm impatient and whatever, it's all just old trailing stuff. It's like you go to the toilet and you forget to drop the paper in the toilet, and you've got this long line of toilet paper stuck in your pants, and you're dragging it around with you the whole lifetime. And you're like, what's so smelly? What's so icky? And so now this moment of understanding emptiness helps me to let go of the ego and the I. And if there is nothing to hang on to, if there's not really anything to grasp, and I'm just this momentary thing in this body, then I don't have to worry about draping it and putting on makeup and having long, fancy hair with color and whatever. I live simply, and I try as my best I can to polish my actions and my words. And that's what emptiness is for me. And there's no reason to cling because it's gonna go. And I don't know when it's gonna go, but I know it's gonna go, and it's scary for a moment, but I have to just let it go and just be as kind and as connected as possible. So that's my take.
Thanks, God. Terry, we had a hand raised in the room, and then we'll get Hey, Lou first, and then take the
I've always associated emptiness with the clear light mind, either as being the clear light mind or being where the clear light mind resides, when free from all afflictions.
Lou said he relates emptiness to the clear light mind. And the clear light mind, when it's free of all afflictions or pollutions. When it's free of all afflictions.
It's either emptiness or emptiness is where it abides. I mean, it's the Dharmakaya. That's what I associate emptiness.
Yeah. Emptiness with the clear light mind, Dharmakaya. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Terry? Oh, you're muted. Sorry. Terry, were you trying to share? Ellen, you had a comment?
Yeah. All right. So I completely agree with everything that y'all are saying. I'm a bit new to this all, but I completely agree, and I want to get to be more understandable of this. I completely agreed with what Kodo was saying, you know, about the thing with the toilet in the paper. And how, like, you know, sometimes like certain situations they can be like paper falling into the toilet. And, you know, sometimes I deal with problems on the toilet, so it kind of reminded me. Because, yeah, sometimes, like, you know, I eat something wrong and I have problems on the toilet, so yeah, that's what it kind of reminded me of. So I kind of like that, and it really gave me a good understanding. So thank you.
Yeah, one word Kodo mentioned, the clinging. So one word Kodo mentioned was clinging. I thought I'd kind of follow up with. These teachings are specifically to help us release that clinging. And the clinging and the fixation. Clinging and fixation is kind of the root of where the clinging and fixation happens, and then like the rest of our stuff starts to bubble up. So without clinging and fixation, we can't really conjure up anger. There's just no, like, we need like anger and passion, the kind of obsession, or all the kind of emotions that disturb us and kind of haunt us and kind of constantly are kind of patterns. They need kind of the pressure. It's almost like it's like a pressure cooker. They need something to hold on to that kind of grow. They need, and that clinging and fixation is where all those patterns grow. Yeah, like if something happens, yeah, I'm just like driving is a great example. Very easy one, easy one to have the anger come up. You know, if there's no clinging or fixation, like it just happens and then it's gone. Like there's no, you know, it happens and then we're on to the next moment kind of thing. Like there's no way for it to bind. But when we perceive something, cling to it, that person is ultimately stupid or ultimately reckless or whatever, then that starts our whole stream of, and how dare that person do that? Don't they know the traffic laws? What kind of person would do that? Like, that person really needs a lesson. And like, what about, and I have to get somewhere, you know, that all kind of starts with that kind of initial kind of, yeah. So emptiness, these teachings are trying to release that clinging. And then that becomes the basis of, which is the basis of all our suffering. And without that, there's just kind of a liberated, open, carefree, peaceful mind. And in that mind, it's, yeah. So also when we're not fixated in that way, and clinging to ourselves or clinging to our anger or whatever the emotion is, then when we do relate, like we're still relating. We're still alive. We're still, but without that, we can have, when somebody comes up to us, we can be there with them. Compassion can, you know, where there's no kind of baggage blocking us from being there and hearing clearly, seeing clearly, feeling clearly, responding clearly. And so that natural kind of response and clarity can actually take place. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of crucial, and it's, you know, they say like in the Buddhist tradition, that's the ultimate medicine, or it's the ultimate kind of goal, or all the teachings actually kind of lead to this point. It's a teaching in from something. Yeah, from Shantideva's Guided Bodhisattva's Way of Life. All these practices, besides emptiness. So this was at the last chapter of this text. All the Bodhisattva practices, all the compassion practices, all the meditation and so forth, all the practices were taught by the Buddha for the sake of wisdom. Therefore, with the wish to pacify suffering, cultivate wisdom. Yeah. Yeah, because without actually releasing this in a deep way, there's always going to be kind of a veil There's always going to be something kind of blocking the way for us to continue on the path and to be of service. Yeah, and so all the practices are complementary to emptiness. So to be able to release ourselves from this kind of clinging, the habit, this kind of instinct of clinging and fixation on things, on ourself, on outside things, phenomena. We need to kind of build up, they call it purification or purification and merit. So we need to kind of, it's almost like we start to get kind of relative stability and relative clarity, relative peacefulness, relative goodness in us. One way I like to think of merit is, because merit for me, like the word's always strange. I've never really seen it translated otherwise. The Tibetan word sonam, and I've only seen it translated as merit. Sometimes merit for me feels like a thing, like it's like an object or something. But it's merit is like it's building up a positive force in our mind streams. So it's like almost like a vitality of positivity. So when we're doing meritorious actions, they're like actions with this kind of goodness to them. Where we recite sutras because they're, you're just reciting goodness, words of goodness, powerful, words with this kind of very powerful blessing to it. Or we're offering kindness or generosity and so forth. We're kind of building this kind of power of force of goodness in our being, in our mind streams, in our kind of energy. And we need that kind of goodness to be able to really let go of the self and be able to release that kind of clinging. We have to build up like kind of a healthy relative self to release. And like ego, whatever, however we describe it, like the self, having a self is not the problem. It's the clinging to the self. It's Tibetan word doxin, the ego grasping. It's the grasping at ego is the problem. Like I appear, like there is something here that has a label, and I function in a certain way. That's not I can have a self relatively. It's just kind of this like clinging to the self that actually is the issue. So they say we need to kind of build up that merit and purification, kind of work through stuff. It's like I'm terrible, so I just want to meditate on emptiness to get rid of myself. Like that would really be nice. Actually, if we could just shortcut it, let go of the stuff from that way. But we actually can't. We actually kind of have to heal ourselves and kind of build up ourselves to a certain degree to be able to let go of ourselves. We have to make peace to be able to let go. And that actually also helps us counteract kind of a nihilism, because I think if we are kind of have a disturbed sense of self and we're practicing emptiness, it probably will have that kind of nihilistic, like I just don't want to exist because my relative existence is bad. And what the teachings of emptiness are saying, we're just trying to see relative as relative. Like the relative existence itself is not bad in itself. It's that we have to see it as relative and let go. Healing, purification, merit accumulation. ethical conduct, so forth, becomes the basis. And it made me think of one of the Buddha's close disciples, Madhgalyana. So sometimes in the tankas of the Shakyamuni Buddha, there'd be Buddha and there's two monks next, standing in the picture. And one Shariputra, who we were chanting about earlier, and the other Madhgalyana. And it said that the Buddha, during the teaching, the Buddha just held up a flower. And just that gesture and kind of the atmosphere the Buddha had created, just that gesture actually, when Madhgalyana saw the Buddha hold up the flower, like the realization dawned for him. Like he had the realization of selflessness, emptiness. And for me, that makes me think of like, that wasn't just kind of like he had done a lot of practice and become, very strong practitioner, developed his mind very deeply. And then it just took this one kind of gesture that's like, oh, I got it. And some say like they trace, like some Zen traditions say like that was like the first Zen transmission. I guess the Zen tradition is kind of non-verbal communication transmission tradition. Yeah, so in the meantime, it doesn't mean we can't. So when we talk about merit accumulation, there's two accumulations of merit. There's the kind of relative, the compassion wing of the path. So the merit of goodness and kind acts, and generosity, patience, and so forth, in terms of relation to others, making offerings to meditate on the Buddhas and so forth. And then there's the merit accumulation of wisdom. So when we're studying emptiness and contemplating emptiness, thinking about emptiness, we're also building up our what they call a wisdom merit. So there's like this compassion merit or kind of method merit, and relative merit and this absolute merit. Yeah, and so we do those together. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama suggests to students of his, he said, if you're a student of mine, really make your heart practice every day, cultivating bodhicitta and then cultivating emptiness. I mean, those two are the kind of primary emphasis of daily practice. Okay, so yeah, maybe we'll go ahead and get into emptiness a bit. Yeah, so one way of looking at it, if something exists, it should exist somewhere. Yeah. And yeah, right? I think it's a fair, reasonable request. Like if something is to exist, like it should exist should exist somewhere. So so we have this sense of existence of things that we perceive. We have the sense of this I exist, this table exists, this computer exists, this flower exists, this cup, this room, all of you exist. This world exists, politics exists, universe exists, And so when we start to explore emptiness, that's where we start. It's like, okay, great. Okay, these things appear to me to exist. And that's actually how we that's how we need to start, because emptiness isn't actually a thing. So we start with what appears to us. So I exist, these things exist. So then the question is, okay, where are they? So then we start to begin the search. So if they exist, then where do they exist? How do they exist? And there's two kind of categories of how we go, where we look. So we can do look at the self. There's self, and then there's phenomena. There's emptiness and self, emptiness of self, and emptiness of phenomena. Generally, we start with emptiness of self because of those kind of because the clinging to self is the source of all of our troubles. So it's kind of vital that we kind of start there. And then we can move on to emptiness of phenomena. And one of the reasons, one thing His Holiness would say when we're doing it, if we meditate on the emptiness of self, searching for the self, we don't find the self. We may have some kind of recognition of the lack of the inherent existence of self. Like, okay, self's not in the body, self's not in the mind. But then we may have that comprehension, but then we may still think the body and mind are truly existent. So we move, first we work with self, and then we work with phenomena. Which is a phenomena generally. And then one of the starting point, with the emptiness of self, one way we can, there's different ways of meditating. So we can meditate on the emptiness of the five aggregates. So in the Heart Sutra, I said, no form, no feeling, no perception, no mental formations, no consciousness. That is the composite of the self. So our physical bodies are the feelings, the experience of feeling, sensation, our perceptions of good, bad, neutral, our kind of karmic formations and karmic conceptions. So not just good or bad, but also kind of the stories and kind of karmic perception, appearances of the world, or experiences, and consciousness. So then we have the five consciousness. So seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touch, five senses, and then also our thinking sense. So we can do the search for the self through that experience. But first I said before we start doing that search, we want to kind of establish the pervasion. So we want to know the parameters of our search. So it's almost like, okay, if I lost my keys, we want to have some boundaries of our search. It's not like I'm going to, even though I've never been on the east side of Santa Fe, there's no way my keys are there, right? So I've only been here, and here, so it's got to be here, or here. And then I have this certainty, like, okay, if I've searched here, and here, I've searched everywhere they could be. So before we start to search, we want to kind of create a boundary of kind of certainty of like, okay, I'm going to search in my body or mind for the self. Could it be anywhere else besides my body or mind? And we need to have that kind of conviction that, okay, once I've searched these places, I don't need to search anywhere else, because what will happen, because we're actually not finding anything, and it's kind of a subtle experience, like to find the lack of something. We don't want to have doubts creep in of like, oh, well, I need to search again. So it's like I have that kind of dawning of not finding anything. And then this kind of thought will come up like, well, actually, could, blah, 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 whatever. So we want to have that kind of certainty, like, okay, this is where, once I've done this, there's nowhere else it could be. And that will help support the container to be able to kind of be with that emptiness experience that we're understanding. So, yeah, and what's this called? This is called the four-point analysis. So the four ways that it could exist. So if we have an inherently existing self, it's either existing as one, as the same as body and mind. So it is this exact same as my body and mind, or it's different from body and mind. So it's one, it's the same as my body and mind, or it's something else besides body and mind. And we can see those two categories. There's no other. It's either this, it's either on here, or it's somewhere else. And that kind of covers the universe. Here or there, or something, that's it. So it's here or somewhere else. So it's either separate, or one with the body and mind, or different with the body and mind. And then the other two, it could either be both the same body and mind and different, or it could be neither same or different, which doesn't really make any sense, but it just kind of covers it. So it's same, different, both same and different, or neither same and different. So we can neither same or different, you can just cut off. That's not possible. And if it's not the same, and if it's not different, then it also can't be both those. Because they're both same and different would require that the first two check out. That we're the same or different. Yeah, Donnie. Yeah, that we'll actually get to that later about how emptiness actually is kind of a requirement for things to exist and to change and move and yeah. Yeah, so we establish those four parameters, so then we get clear about the search. And so if it is to exist, it should be somewhere in body or mind. To say it exists somewhere else besides body or mind, if it's not, myself's not in my body and it's not in my mind, then where would it be? You may have any ideas?
Yeah, I think Kodo demonstrated with the hand gestures. Is it just all pervading everywhere? Are we just,
But not within consciousness, though. So it's
yeah, is our consciousness just everywhere and we just think it's here? Maybe.
the self.
Thought.
So could the self pervade everywhere else, but our mind would not be?
Yeah, yeah. I think we could.
Yeah.
I'd love to be in Barbados right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So exactly. So if our self isn't connected to body and mind, it could just be anywhere. Yeah. Yeah, if our self isn't connected to body and mind, we wouldn't need a plane ticket. We could be on vacation and work at the same time. Barbados, Tahiti, uh, because there'd be no relationship to our body and mind at all. And for it to exist somewhere outside of our consciousness seems, absurd. Now, maybe our consciousness pervades everywhere. That's a separate question. But in terms of who we are, like me, yeah. So it's kind of an absurdity, like to say, like my body and mind are here, but like Justin's over here somewhere, floating in space somehow. I think it's kind of an absurd idea. So then that would kind of eliminate that it's something different than body and mind. So then it would be like, okay, if myself does exist, it'd have to be somewhere in my body or mind. So I'm going to search my body and my mind for this me. And saying if it's one with the body is tricky, because the body, like which part of the body is it? Is this myself, my leg, or is myself my shoulder, or is myself my head? The body isn't a singular thing, so to say it's one with the body doesn't quite check out either. And then so there's myself. It's me in my calf. It's me in my bone. So when we do the meditation, we actually do search through these places, because there's this kind of instinctual kind of grasping, or that the body and mind is me. And with emptiness, it's not a belief, it has to be a discovery. It has to be something that, the Buddha can't just it's not a faith-based process. We need to actually have the recognition ourselves. So we do the direct kind of meditation to kind of help re-educate ourselves in a way, like relearn, start to kind of counter that instinct, and start to see, like, no, it's not in my legs, it's not in my chest, it's not in my heart, it's not in my brain, because the brain, where in the brain, which atom in the brain, and so we're not finding it in the body. We're not finding it in our feelings. And so then the body, and then we move on to our mind. And then what is mind? So mind, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, awareness. We try to locate mind. Does mind have a shape? Does it have a color? What is this kind of awareness? If it's my thoughts, if I am my thoughts, then which thought am I? Like Kodo was saying, every moment, this moment, every changing. So if I'm one with my thoughts, then if I have, in a minute, I have, 1,000 thoughts, and I'm 1,000 different me's, 1,000 different self. So am I my thoughts? Am I my sensations? And we're not finding a static, lasting, permanent, concrete me in any of it. Yeah, and so they call this a non-affirming negation, technical word. What it means is that we're not finding and we're not positing something else. We're just saying it's not there. And leave it in that, and being able to, that's it, it's not there. And if I say like in here, there's no bicycle, there's no bicycle. I say there's no bicycle in the Gompa. That's a non-affirming negation. I've just said that it's not here, and I haven't affirmed anything. I haven't said it's somewhere else. I just said there's no bicycle in the Gompa. And cool, that has no impact on us at all. Yeah, that's okay. Cool. That's nice to know that there's no bicycle in the Gompa. Maybe it'd be interesting if there was, like, oh, brought their bike in the Gompa. Is it okay to have a bike in the Gompa? Is that kind of bad to do? We might have whatever. But saying there's no bike in Gompa just had no impact on us. But when we say there's no inherently existing self, that's like, oh wow, okay. Like what? That's very impactful. Yeah. And it's important that it's a non-affirming negation, that because emptiness is just the lack of this mistaken view of existence. So it's a lack of a concrete existence. It's the lack of the self existing in a certain way. It's the lack of a fixed existence. It's just that lack of it. And yeah, through our practice, we have to be able to, it's like we have to be able to tolerate that reality. We have to be able to be with it and tolerate it. And so when that kind of insight may occur, we need to have the kind of stability, groundedness, and clarity and presence of calm abiding practice to be able to have a sense of embodied presence. So when that kind of subtle comprehension that there's no inherent existence is there, we're able to hold it, because it is so subtle. It's not what we're used to. Like we're always used to there being stuff to believe in. There, righteousness and evil, and me and them, and me and mine, and this and that, and all this stuff. That's how we operate. So when it kind of flips that on its head, and we have this kind of voidness or emptiness, shunyata, is kind of not there, not finding. We're able to stay with that not finding as much as we can. And our ability to stay with that in the depth that is a gradual, it's a very gradual process that we slowly get. And at first we start with just the kind of intellectual comprehension, like, oh, okay, yeah, that rings true. It's kind of vague, but like, yeah, that makes sense to me. And then that intellectual comprehension starts to become clearer and clearer and more powerful. It starts to impact us more, function in us more. And then we develop that into a direct experience over time. Any comments or questions? Yeah.
Just find it's obviously so very difficult to try and comprehend that there is no self, and then we're constantly grasping, well, what is there? There must be something, and then if there isn't, but there is something, but it doesn't exist in the way we think. I don't know. It's so hard to even formulate a question at the minute. It's so nuanced and so subtle. It's so hard to grasp onto, isn't it? Because it's just such a new idea that there's the conventional reality, and then there's the ultimate. And do these two truths then make enlightenment, or I don't know. It's so hard to even formulate a question around it at the moment. Or just a thought.
Yeah, so there is a self, but it's um, yeah, there is a self, but it's merely conventional. So on the basis of this body, mind, whatever, I'm known as Justin. I'm labeled Justin. Like I have that label. That's who I am. I have a name, social security number. Here, Anna doesn't have a U.S. social security number. I don't know what you guys have in the UK, but yeah, the appearance or the label again isn't the problem, and that actually, like through the conventional, we find the ultimate. So we're trying to find out, but it's not that the appearance of the self, Justin, or whatever, me. It's just like, okay, where is it? And we can't find it. But the appearance itself is okay. We see conventional things as ultimate truth. That's the problem. That's samsara. We don't see conventional as conventional. It's just a label. It's just a name that I'm known as in society, and that's accurate. Like I couldn't say my name is purple because that's not a conventional truth. Like conventionally, nobody thinks of me as that. Conventionally, it's an accurate conventional label to say the name I'm known as within the world. It's like a worldly convention. Yeah. Yeah, but we just can't find it. So then there's no absolute quality to it. So it appears, but we can't find. And the Tibetan word, it's much nicer than conventional. The Tibetan word for conventional truth is kunso dempa. Kun means all or totally. Zop means obscured. So Zop is like veiled or obscured. And Dempa means truth. So it's what's true to a mind that's totally obscured is what's relative. That's the Tibetan word for relative truth. True for an obscured mind. Yeah. Yeah. So we have like a flower. Our eyes perceive color and shape. And certain thing, and we've been taught to label this flower. So like a perceived color, shape, and so forth, and computing quickly, like that's flower. You know, like when I was 3, people were like, "Oh, that's a flower," and like, blah, blah, you know, or maybe 2, whatever. You know, no, that's flower, and that's chair, and, you know, and so there's a direct, the sense consciousness sees the shape and color. The mental consciousness imputes the label on it, and so we appear to see flower. But the term flower is like there's many flowers. You know, like this is a phenomena, but we have the same term for multiple. There could be multiple flowers in here, and it's all the same term. They're all flowers. You know, it's like a vague, you know, kind of absolute term for something that is this. There's no other phenomena like this particular phenomena right now. You know, this phenomena is unique. It's changing every moment. It has kind of infinite part, like the atom, if we break it down, it has infinite kind of parts. It has a stem, and the stem, it has this like an infinite, you know, parts to it. There's so much going on, but it's like this vague kind of concept flower. And that's just to help us communicate. Like if I was like, can you bring me the flower? You know, if I don't have a word for it, we can't actually function and do stuff. So it's just our vague way of communicating to get through life. And it works, and there's no problem with it, actually. Like we need to have we need these terms to be able to learn, to interact, to discuss, to help each other, and to eventually discover emptiness and awaken. Like we need convention too. From the Buddhist point of view, all conventional things are to help. The conventional world is to help us realize the absolute. That's the point. You know, but in worldly life, the conventional things are just to help us kind of survive, get around, or whatever, or enjoy. You know, maybe the arts and different things, not necessarily. So we have this vague kind of like flower that we put onto it, this concept or whatever, and it's totally missing or obscuring the reality of this phenomena. Conventionally, it helps, but it's not an accurate, direct perception of this phenomenon. So the same thing I say me, just as like simple, vague term, oh, me, you know, like this thing here or whatever. It's a vague term, but my body has infinite processes happening, changing moment to moment, you know. Any sort of conceptual understanding of something is not seeing it directly. It's not seeing anything directly. It's an obscuration. It's Kunso Tempa. It's totally, it's an obscuration. Yeah. Yeah. And so in this tradition, I was going to read a quote from Yangtze Rinpoche. On this tradition, so we establish emptiness of something from two angles. So the emptiness of a flower cannot be established just by the fact of the flower being merely imputed and empty of inherent existence alone. When we say that a flower does not exist inherently, or that the flower is empty of true existence, we are establishing emptiness by talking about the emptiness of the flower in particular. So this kind of negation is one angle. From another point of view, when a transcendental wisdom mind in equipoise meditates on the emptiness of the flower, the fact that this mind does not see the flower itself is also the emptiness of the flower. So to this mind, there is no appearance of a flower. Not only is there no appearance of a flower, but also this mind has no concept of a flower. It does not even comprehend the flower. Therefore, the mind that realizes the emptiness of a phenomena does not realize the basis of that emptiness, which is the phenomena itself. There's no appearance of the basis of that emptiness. Maybe that might have been too much. But what Rinpoche is saying is we established kind of that talking level of like, there's just a label flower, but that's just a conventional label, and there's no true existence of flower apart from the label. That's one level of emptiness, and then there's another level, like the second level is when we're in a meditative absorption on emptiness, and we're just meditating on the emptiness of the flower itself, and there actually is no appearance of the flower at all. And so that becomes like an absolute truth. So Kunsop Dempa is the kind of obscured experience of reality and the labels that projections that we have on everything, labels and projections, and not seeing that as such. And then the absolute truth is identifying that those labels and projections are empty, and then that meditation that's directly experiencing the emptiness itself, or the emptiness of the phenomena. And so that's called absolute truth, as a mind that sees the absolute nature of something. And they say the way, so with conventional reality, the way something appears and the way something exists is, they don't match. So with the conventional reality, the way something appears and the way it actually is, it's not connected. But in the absolute, the way something exists and the way it appears to us is the same. We're actually having a direct appearance of direct insight in reality. Yeah, it's a lot. People want to take a 5 minute, feel like we need a 5 minute break, maybe. That help. Yeah, let's come back at 25 after. I thought maybe we could do some meditation. Meditate what we've been discussing. Yeah, I think we'll start with chanting the Heart Sutra mantra, just the mantra for a bit. And then we'll go into doing the search for the self in the body and mind. So we'll chant the mantra, and then we'll just do some shamatha practice, some calm abiding practice to let our minds kind of clear and settle for a bit, and then we can do some insight practice. As best we can. We don't want to think too much. Try not to try to, when we start doing the search for the self, we start to look different places in the mind. One way, like in the Mahamudra tradition, there's a way of saying, like, the fish, when we start to analyze, like, the fish moves through water without disturbing the water. So the water is kind of the sense of clear presence, being, and then the fish is the mind that's checking and looking and searching. And so, yeah, when we search, just kind of have it as a gentle search where we're not using our heads too much, but we are going to be using our analytical, we'll be using our minds. Does that make sense? Nice little balance, yeah. Trying to have a balance of meditative awareness and searching. Okay. I think first, remember kind of the earlier points that some of us brought up about how important this wisdom is, this insight is. To be able to release our clinging and fixation. It's the gateway to open our hearts. The tradition has a phrase saying, emptiness is the womb of compassion. It allows us, our hearts and minds, to totally open. So having a quality of a compassionate intention for our practice. So we're going to do this meditation to start to, little by little, break free of that habit or instinct of grasping fixation. So that we can grow our bodhicitta, grow our compassion, grow our freedom. We'll chant the Heart Sutra mantra. Tayata gate gate para gate para sangate bodhiso. 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 Tayata gate 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 para samgate bodhi so. We can bring our attention to the rising and falling of the breath. You can allow the out breath, paying attention to the quality of the out breath, allow the out breath to be relaxation, relaxing and settling breath. And breathe out, settling into the body. And if you like, you can try to bring part of your awareness down to the area of the pelvic floor, and your legs and feet. And begin to connect with a sense of ground. You connect with a sense of the earth below you. You feel supported, relaxing into the sense of ground as you breathe. We can begin to become aware of a sense of me. This feeling of me, or I. And how it feels static, concrete. Maybe there's a sense of constriction around the sense of me. It feels like it's not changing, but it's there. And if the me is truly there, it has to be, recognize that it's to be somewhere in our body or mind, someplace. So we can ask, is the me the body? And as we ask, just gently start to scan, look through the body. Is the me the leg or hand and so forth? As we scan, we're doing it with the mind that's checking, it's asking us. It doesn't already have the conclusion before we search. If we've gone through the whole body and we have some understanding that the me is not in the body or not the body, just rest in that understanding, be with that understanding. And be with that not finding. In your own time, when you're ready, you begin to explore and search for the me in the mind. It's the me in our feelings, anywhere. It's the me one with any emotion or thought. As we search, we might notice that the mind is changing moment to moment. When we search for something, it's already changed. Does the mind itself, awareness itself, even have a form or shape, or color or substance at all? You have the label mind or label awareness, but we can't actually grasp awareness itself beyond the label. It's changing moment to moment. And if we have any sense of not finding, static, fixed, concrete sense of me can't be found anywhere in this dynamic, changing, formless awareness. See if we can quietly be with that not finding. Let's kind of relax with that not finding as we breathe. Yeah, we can dedicate whatever positive energy that we've created in our practice and discussion this morning will become cause for us to realize our true nature, our full potential, so that we may be of lasting value to all living beings without exception, to help enable them to awaken their full potential, to see their true nature. May the Supreme Jewel Bodhicitta, not yet grown, begin to grow, and may that which has begun to grow increase unceasingly for the benefit of all sentient beings. I guess before we break for lunch, any, or maybe should we have any burning questions or comments in our practice? Okay, yeah, so maybe we'll break, and I guess 2 o'clock. So we'll have a 2-hour lunch break, which is 2 o'clock, conventionally labeled 2 o'clock in Santa Fe, and many other different times in other places. So 2 hours from now, we'll come back.